Okay, so keep it coming, and the reasons into the chat of why you've gone for coming to winter skin workshop training. To get some confidence. Nina, your skin's feeling super dry at the moment. Yeah, well, the reality is, guys, if your skin's feeling dry after the next 4 or 5 weeks, you're probably not doing enough workshops. Okay, so that's the general rule here. Because let's face it, we get to rub delicious products into ourselves and introduce other people to it. So if your skin's feeling dry, you know what to do. Any training is great because you're new. That's lovely. Good. Well, lots of welcomes to the newbies. Really nice to have you with us. I'm still just admitting everybody. So there's quite a few just still coming in now. Okay. Yeah, and I know we've got a few people just joining us a bit later, so I will keep an eye out. Hopefully, getting as and when they come up. Great to see your messages. Right, I am just going to mute you all for now, but please, if you want to interrupt at any point and ask a question or make a comment, please do unmute yourself and and contribute. It'd be really lovely. Otherwise, it's going to be my voice for a long time. So break it up, ladies. Okay, so we got a few others just coming in. And it's great to have you here. Jolly good. Right, let's screen share and get this party started. Now, in some of the workshop training, we've actually had it so that we've got slides. We've got slides going on as well as us trying to enjoy the products at the same time. And for this one, I think that's a little bit complicated. And because it's so early in January, I didn't want to muddy the edges with you guys needing to try and collect products together and have those. We do that from time to time because it is really nice actually to experience the products that we're sampling. But tonight you can just sit back and take some notes. Yeah, then hopefully it will inspire you to make some purchases for your own winter skin, as well as for your winter workshops. Okay, so, oh goodness, still people coming in. Move you all down there. Welcome to everyone. If you've just joined us, one of the things that's been going on is we've been putting into the chat what grabs you about the winter skin workshops. Why did you decide to come to this particular one? So do put your reasons for doing that in there. That would be really good. So what this is doing for us is bringing together, I think, seasonal relevance for our customers alongside our new winter wellbeing guide. And if you haven't had a look at that for yourself yet, the winter wellbeing guide, you need to get those on order in your next consultant order. Definitely, they're only 10p each. And let's face it, you can't even buy your customers a chocolate Freddo for 10p these days. So it is money well worth investing. And that wellbeing guide is for seasonal relevance of products. So taking little cameos of the catalogue and just specifically for this sort of quarter, next 4 months of the year, this is a little snapshot of things that might be relevant to customers. And what we'll find too, that the marketing team are supporting the themes that come up in the wellbeing guide with social media images as we go. So actually we do well to stick with the themes that are coming, because then our focuses in our workshop and in our social media will all be in line. And you can't deliver all the products all at the same time, can you? You just can't. You can't do justice to the catalogue. So actually having just a few products to focus on at any one time is a good idea. So before we start, I'm going to start with a encouragement for you guys to put into the chat what happens to your skin in the winter. What are the issues for you at this time of year? And when you're running a workshop, I would suggest this is a good conversation starter. Now, because we've got so many people on the call, I'm going to ask you to put it into the chat. What are your concerns with winter? Okay, gets dry and flaky. Yep, good. Dull. Keep those coming while I submit the next lot of people. Yeah, can get a bit chapped, especially hands at the moment, I think, because everyone's been using a lot of alcohol gels. So hands are a bit of an issue. Sore lips, very definitely. And why? What are the issues that have caused this? Have a think. What's affecting our skin at this time of year, apart from the obvious? Yeah, central heating, very definitely. Cold winds and just generally being cold. Yeah, Catherine's saying being inside. I think it's also the switch from being inside to being outside and back again. And obviously, we're not in cars as much now, but often when we are, then we've got the blowers going, and that is quite dehydrating for the skin as well. Yeah, heating in the house, colder outside. Yeah. Um, how's your salad intake? How are your new baby leafy vegetable kind of intakes in the winter? Because I don't know about you, but mine plummet somewhat. My dietary intake. Yeah, good, Natasha, not just me. Um, and actually, all of those things that we take into our systems that um, help our essential fatty acid intake. So leafy vegetables, um, you know, a nice piece of baked salmon with a side salad is perfect for essential fatty acids for our system, but we're actually not very good at taking that on in the winter. What about circulation? What happens to your circulation in the winter? Yeah, good point, Louise. With the face masks, very definitely an issue at this time of year. Sorry, this particular juncture and what we're about at the moment. Yeah, definitely, Ruth. I think we're more static. I think that's an issue. Ruth's saying that we're not exercising as much, maybe. We're not getting out in the garden, doing stuff. Those of us who like to be out and about walking, cycling. The weather's just poorer, and we are more static in the winter. Um, you know, naturally, we would probably hibernate more in the winter. The reality is, we don't hibernate. We work as hard, but we're probably not doing that in a way that helps to enhance um, our circulation. So, what I'm going to suggest is that you get the conversation starting with guests at the beginning about what their issues are and why that is the case. And here were some that I came up with before tonight. Exposed areas that hit the cold, but actually the bits we hide as well. You know, if you could all be in my lounge right now and we were doing a winter skin workshop, would you be happy to bare your legs and arms? No, it's like, oh no, hang on, that needs a bit of attention before I'm going to get any of those covered up bits out for general consumption in the world. So I just think we're just perhaps a bit more neglectful of our skin winter because it's not out there for everybody to see, so it doesn't seem to matter so much. And conversation about all of that helps people to engage with their needs at the beginning, which of course we're now going to go on to meet with the products. It's all very well talking about the products, but unless you've got them hungry to resolve the issues, probably their interest isn't as high. So let's get going on some of the cards that I've produced for you for the winter workshop. So you do not need to write all these down. What I'm going to do is add them to belovelies.com website, if you haven't registered there, www.belovelies.com. Perhaps somebody could just type that into the chat for those that aren't familiar. And I'll also add it as a file to my team Facebook group. So you won't need to take notes on the things that are written on the screen as we go through. Anything else that I say that just comes out of my head, then feel free to jot down. And then what you'll see is as we go, the slides I've done are printable to an A4 sheet. My recommendation is that if you're going to be doing some winter skin workshops, you print those off onto printable card, because they'll last a lot longer than a piece of paper. And I've kept them deliberately plain, so they're really simple to print and don't take up too much ink. And on most of them, you've got space to scribble your own stories or memory joggers of what you want to say. But the first slide that I've done is a few of the challenges for us in our skin in winter and the solutions that we come up with. So you could use this as your introduction, really. You could say, as we've talked about, you know, our challenge just feels drier in this season. And what we're going to talk about is some creamy cleansers, some of the nourishing oils that Neil Shard Remedies use, because what those are doing are conditioning the skin cells. They're rich in essential fatty acids, which we're not getting as much of from our diet. So do you see how you'd use that first challenge and solution as your prompt for your script? And probably the 3 that I've put on that card are the 3 main ones that are going to come up. Okay. As I said, those of you who came later, if you've got any questions at all, please do unmute yourself as we go. If you've got comment to make as well, it'd be lovely to have your input as we go. Okay, so first of all, looking at a cream cleanser, and actually the calendula cleanser is featured in the Wellbeing guide. So this is a good one to start with. But I think one of the things that's helpful to explain to people is why a cream cleanser over a facial wash? Why is that going to be of benefit? And basically, they're just a bit more nourishing than the facial wash options that we have. The nourishing oils help to protect the skin, and right from the beginning of your routine, then you've got nourishing oils going in to help protect your skin, rather than many cleansers actually removing oil from your skin, you know, which can actually take the skin out of balance, leave kind of microscopic size cracks in the protective layer on the top of your skin. And then, of course, you've got to replenish them all with your moisturizers and facial oils and stuff afterwards, whereas our cleansers start that nourishment from the beginning. So there's jojoba oil in the calendula cleanser, which is the one we're going to feature. But you might say to them, actually, the other alternatives, I think, for this time of year, especially if you're a frankincense fan, would be the frankincense refining cleanser that's also a cream cleanser, or the frankincense intense cleansing melt. So you definitely, for the workshop, need to give them a sample of the cleanser. To be honest, which one you use is up to you, and it will depend on whether you're using pots or the sample sachets, whatever you've got available. Maybe actually for your guests, and I've done this a few times, if you've got a couple of each of something, you know, the tail ends of packets of samples, there's nothing wrong with giving different cleansers to different people and just getting them to compare. So you don't need to give them all 3, you just need to let people know what the alternatives are. And I suggest that at the point where they've tried the cleanser and they will have obviously applied this to their face, they can then just take a moment for that cleanser to sit on their faces and have a look in the catalogue at where the other 2 cleansers are, so that they can just familiarise themselves and then make their choice on whether they want to go for the one you've sampled or a different one. And it's amazing, you know, I'm often surprised that people make purchases with things that aren't the things that they sampled. But what the samples do is they give people an idea of what the products are about. They get enough information, and then they can make a choice, even if they go for one that isn't one that they've actually sampled.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, of course, Ruth.
Yeah, I had a mum recently, and I was asking about her teenage daughter using a cleanser. And she said, well, no, because I wouldn't want to interfere with the skin's natural protection barrier. And so I wasn't quite sure how to respond to that from a meal jar perspective. So maybe you could give us some reassurance on this.
Yeah, certainly. So that taps into what I was saying earlier, Ruth, about the cleansers often will strip the skin of the natural oils that you have, but also actually we have a protective layer of, effectively it's oil that sits on the surface of the skin, and some cleansers are too astringent for the natural pH balance of the skin and will take away that protective layer, exposing the skin then to invasion, really, so to infection or to inflammation, but actually also because you've taken the natural oils, the skin cells struggle then to maintain their health when those oils have gone. As I said, it also means you're going to need more moisturizer or facial oil or serum to replace what you've taken out, which is great if you want to sell products, not great if you're the person who's trying to maintain a healthy oil balance in the skin. So I think what you could say to that particular lady, Ruth, is to reassure her that our cleansers maintain the pH balance and the natural oil balance of the skin. They're there to reassure the skin and enhance the skin's sort of natural balance. They certainly won't do any damage to that protective layer that she was rightly protective about.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Okay. Jane, I'm just going to ask whether you'd mind just turning your camera off. Is that possible? Thank you. Okay, so then I think another product for us to really focus on for the winter is facial polish, and later we're going to come on to body exfoliators. The reason for that is that actually, as our circulation isn't as great during the winter, we find that we don't shed the dead skin cells that come that sit on the surface of the skin as effectively as we might at other times of the year. And exfoliating removes the dead skins from the surface of the skin, and what that does is expose the newer, fresher skin cells that are underneath, which in itself is brightening and enhancing for the skin, but also means then that the moisturizers and oils and serums that you put on after the cleansing process have got the chance to work at their most effectiveness. Because obviously if you are applying moisturizers, nourishing products on top of dead skin cells, you're basically just nourishing skin cells that are already dying off or dead, and not nourishing the skin cells that are alive and still need that nourishment. So my favorite for the winter is the honey and orange scrub, and it also features in the Wellbeing guide. And with this one, it's going to be a case of putting a blob of that into a sample pot. I know the sample pots are currently out of stock, but those little pots are readily available on the internet. So don't let the stock issue be a problem with this. You can get rose facial polish in a sachet. Stock comes and goes depending according to where we're up to. Really up to you which you feature, but as I said, the honey and orange is the one that's in the Wellbeing guide. Michelle, your fave product, do you want to sell it to us? Come off mute and tell us all about it.
Hello. This is my favorite product, mainly because I didn't use this for ages and ages and ages, because I was using the rose face polish. And then I think it was, I don't know, I think I had it as like a free spend or something. And it's just the scrubbiest scrub ever. Like, you put it on and your skin just feels instantly amazing. I literally love it.
I love it. And I love the fact that it smells like you should be able to put it on toast.
Yeah, it does.
I don't suggest you do. It's a bit gritty, but yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it smells great, and it is really gritty. It's like you should almost put it on your feet nearly. But I mix it with my calendula cleanser if I just don't want it so scrubby.
Perfect. I was just going to say that it's, you know, just mix it with a bit of cream cleanser is good. And as you can see from the slide there, the bits in this particular facial polish are ground rice. They're quite sizable, really. They're bigger than, certainly, as Michelle said, than the pieces that are in the rose facial polish. So if you want a really effective one that's going to get rid of all those dead skin cells, and also, as it says there, improve circulation, because the activity of that is going to get the blood flowing, then go for this particular facial scrub. And again, as ever, attention to detail with the ingredients, because honey traps the moisture in the skin and sunflower oil is really protecting. So even in the facial polish, it's about preparing you for the outside world for later in the day. Thank you, Michelle, for selling it to us. I think you probably got a couple of converts there. Okay, so for the purposes of the winter skin workshop, I would actually bypass toners and such like and go straight then for facial oil. And as I've said, the alternatives would be frankincense or rose facial oil. But actually a facial oil is going to just really add extra nourishment, whereas a serum is more moisture based, and a facial oil for dry skin over the winter is just going to give it that really good soak that's needed. And oil is, as we said, very protective. Our own natural oil production reduces in the winter, and that's, you know, dry skin is actually usually a long-term issue, but actually over the winter our skin can feel as though it's uncomfortable, it's tight and a bit sore, and a facial oil is really going to help deal with that issue. So one of the key products in our starter kit, of course, and it's the richest of our collection, so it's actually on the dry skin collection page. And the Orange Flower Night Cream, which smells the same as this facial oil, is one of the products that's featured in the Wellbeing Guide. So it's actually, you know, you've got something of the same fragrance for people to try, but you're also introducing them to facial oils. So facial oils were revolutionary for me when I became a consultant, because I didn't really know what oils and serums did. And so I was busy using moisturizer upon moisturizer upon moisturizer. But what happens with an oil is that actually it's a finer molecular structure than a moisturizer. So it actually can get slightly deeper into your skin and nourish the skin cells that are coming to the surface. So rather than just moisturizing the ones that are already on the surface, you, over a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, you can really improve the condition of your skin by using an oil, because it's in a better nick basically by the time it gets to the surface. And as a result, you're using less moisturizer. Oils and serums both have a sort of more intensive active ingredients than a moisturizer. So you're just getting more bang for your buck basically. So I would definitely sample a bit of that. Be careful with those pots. You only need a few drops of orange flower facial oil for your face, like 3 drops will do your whole face and neck. So whatever you do, don't fill one of those sample pots if you're going to sample it. Just to go back on that one, the 2 alternatives, the frankincense and the rose facial oil. The rose facial oil you can actually get in a sample sachet. So if you haven't got pots, it doesn't have to be the orange flower one. You can still talk about facial oils and the difference that they make during the winter, and just use a different sample. Has anybody got any questions? Let's just take a pause a moment and have a look and see if there's anything in the chat that we need to answer. Yeah, okay, Fedi, I think I've answered that. Yeah, Sharon, just to clarify, I was saying that in this particular workshop, I'm not going to do a full facial routine with a toner. Toners are great for the winter because they add moisture, it's all good. But I think you'll end up with too many samples if you're sampling too many, every phase of it, basically. Claire, good question. How often would you recommend that a facial polish is used? Basically, once or twice a week at most. Most people, it works out at about every 4 or 5 days, but it slightly depends on the skin type. So Michelle's just put in there, she uses it twice a week. I would say I probably use mine about 3 times a fortnight. So it's not quite twice a week, but it's a bit more than once. So hope that gives you some idea. Okay, let's just move on. So really a treatment, in some ways, the facial oil, well, it's the facial equivalent of a treatment, but I've put this slide in because actually Wild Rose Beauty Balm features in the Wellbeing Guide, and so does argan oil. And with a sachet of Wild Rose Beauty Balm in with the samples that you're going to give people, actually you're covering all 3 treatments that I featured on these cards. So really using the Wild Rose Beauty Balm as a treatment, that's more going to be as a mask treatment and a balm treatment. So the way that that works is you can use it first as a nourishing cleanser. It obviously comes with a muslin cloth. Take that Wild Rose Beauty Balm off to cleanse and finish that process, and then you reapply the Wild Rose Beauty Balm to your face afterwards as a mask overnight treatment. To enhance the skin's absorption of those oils, what you might want to do is take the muslin cloth and heat it up under a hot tap, and then lie it across your face. Either just drape it over your face completely or just fold it in half and do one half of your face, heat it up again and do the other side of your face. What that does is it opens up all the pores and is a really deep, nourishing treatment. And there's no reason to take that off. You can then unwind. It's an amazingly effective unwinder. The essential oils in it will bring you down from 5th gear to about maybe 1.5 gears, and you'll be ready for bed, and just leave it all on your face until the morning, just to really soak in and enjoy the aromatherapeutic benefit. But it's also, because it's not the same as a facial oil in that it's got so many uses, I think it deserves its own separate feature in the workshop. And I think one of the things you can do here is talk about all the other uses. I've got my first winter workshop on Saturday, and I've got a customer coming to that who is a staunch Wild Rose Beauty Balm fanatic. So guess who I'm going to get to talk about that product at that point in the workshop. If you can get someone else to sell it for you, then that's a good idea. And one of the things that we'll do is just stop and talk about the versatility of this product. So I've put some things there on the slide. If you've got other things for Wild Rose Beauty Balm, put it in the chat so that we've got a full list of uses. But it is absolutely an all-round balm for face, lips, cuticles, any dry patches that need protection. And of course, in the summer, we change the focus of that to its antioxidant protection for being in the sunshine. But for the winter, it's the nourishing oils that we home in on. I've been putting it on before I put my socks on in the morning. That is a really nice way to keep your feet from getting a bit neglected over the winter. And if your hair is dry, you can rub some into the ends. If you tend to have hair that goes a bit frizzy, it's amazing for calming frizz down. I'm just going to have a look in the chat and see if there are any other reasons that people use Wild Rose Beauty Balm. Great on burns. Yeah, intensive overnight treatment. I love that. For chemo curl hair, calms them down. Lovely afro frizz, love it. Yeah, really good. Cuticles and elbows. It just goes everywhere, doesn't it? It's amazing. And kind of alongside that fits argan oil, and this one is a face and body oil. It's good for your hair as well, and it is coming back into stock. It's currently under I think we're sourcing it slightly differently, so there's been a bit of a gap in demand, but it will be back in the next few weeks. Come my weekend workshop, I won't be sampling it because it isn't currently in stock, but anybody who wants it, I'm very happy to take pre-orders. So I think it's too important, it's too valuable not to mention, but actually you just need to manage expectations with customers on that one. So it is in the language that they speak in the Moroccan communities where this is produced, the word that they have for argan oil is liquid gold. And that's a really good way to think of this oil. And like the orange flower facial oil, it is a finer molecular structure. It goes in deeper to the skin than a moisturizer. So what you've got here is a body version of what you've explained to people for facial oils. Because actually, if their legs are particularly dry or their arms are suffering at the moment, packing that with a body oil is a really good idea, especially one that's full of omega-3, 6, and 9, those essential fatty acids, and vitamin E, which is antioxidant as well. So you want to encourage people to think oils for winter, for face and body. And this is the perfect one for all over body care. And as Fedi said, really good for helping brush the kids' hair, gives it a beautiful shine and stops the ow, ow, ow tangle fight that I'm sure some of you do on a morning. Yes, you're right. That was the change, Fedi. They're using up the well, they've used up now the collection of argan oil that had the Fair for Life logo on it, and then it's restocking. Good. Silly question. It's never a silly question, especially as a newbie. Is a workshop the same as a Zoom? Well, a workshop is basically at the moment collecting people together online so that they can try the products. A workshop normally would be around somebody's kitchen table, dining room table, meeting room in an office, sat in the garden furniture. But of course, we can't do that at the moment. So it has to be virtual at the moment. And Zoom seems to be a really good way to connect people. If you haven't yet done a workshop and you just like online and you'd like some top tips, next Monday night, I'm doing a training on how you actually run virtual workshops. Because of course, for many of us, this has been something we've had to pick up and have a go at and then become masters at over the last 9 months since the first lockdown in March. That's when we started these virtual workshops. But I really do think that in one shape or form, they are here to stay. So please don't allow the technology or the practical tips to get in the way. Come and join us next Monday and get your confidence up so that you're ready to offer people these workshops. So the idea is that you post out samples in advance and then we all sit together online and work our way through the products in the way we're doing now. Okay, good. I'm glad you're going to come. That's great. Okay, so moisturizers. I deliberately added one for each facial collection here because I don't think you need to be too prescriptive. The general message here is that the pumps are not as thick and creamy as the pots. So the daily moisturizer, the daily moisture bottles in each of the collections are a lighter lotion than the moisturizers that come in the pots. So as I've said there, sometimes your normal moisturizer might not be rich enough during the winter. So you might want your moisturizer just to step up a gear for these winter months and be slightly more nourishing. And according to people's skin type, they can choose whichever one is suitable for their particular collection. So this is a really good time to go to the, let me just grab my catalogue, to the collections part of the catalogue, where you encourage people, page 10 and 11, and you encourage people to select which their skin type is, and choose which of the collections will be best suited for their skin, and choose their moisturizer accordingly. So that really is all of the facial products that they're going to be trying. So in order for that part of the workshop to happen, obviously they're going to need to have a hairband, something to take cleanser off their face, whether that's cotton pads or a flannel or whatever, a bowl of warm water and a towel. They may well like to have a little mirror as well. And all of those instructions can be sent out in advance of the workshop. I'll pick that up at the end when we get to that bit. But they're basically trying the facial products and looking at them in the context of winter. And then with this particular element, you can use the slight break between the facial and the body products just to feature our products for lips. I don't think you can easily sample these, but what I would absolutely highlight is the difference between our lip products and many of the ones that are on the market, in that ours are not petroleum based. And I've just put a bit into this particular product card where you can just talk a little bit about what petroleum does and what our ingredients do as a difference. Try to deliver that as factual, not being scathing of products that have got petroleum in them. People will need to make an informed choice as to whether they want to spend a bit more on their lip care in the light of the information you give them. You don't need to slate other brands. So the issue is that petroleum sits like a barrier on the top of the skin. And what that means is that the skin isn't actually able to function completely effectively. Many people who are repeat chapstick users get cold sores, and the reason for that is that the petroleum can compromise the skin's natural function and then obviously exacerbate issues like cold sores. So when somebody says to me, do you have anything for cold sores? I always get those in the winter. I always ask them, first of all, do you use a lip balm? And can I ask you, is it a petroleum-based one? Most people don't know, but it just starts the conversation. So our lip moisturizers are, they have no petroleum in them. They have natural protecting ingredients. So the Be Lovely Beautiful Lips is cocoa butter and beeswax with a bit of castor oil in it to give you a bit of a shine. But actually that's so different from petroleum because it doesn't sit on the surface of the skin. Those are all ingredients that your skin can absorb. It recognizes because they're natural. And you'll find that although the sheer nut and rosehip lip formula is sometimes 6 or 7 times the price of those awful chapsticks, actually you'll only need to use it maybe once or twice a day, once to maintain, maybe 2 or 3 times if your lips are very sore, until your lips have recovered. And at that point it's going to last you at least 6 or 7 times longer than having to keep pulling a petroleum stick out of your pocket, because fundamentally they don't work. They only act as a barrier. They're not adding any moisture back into the skin. So any questions, come off mute and just ask me, but I hope that really clarifies why ours are a different price point, and just, you know, why we just need to do a shout out to our lip products. I'll just wait for a minute in case anyone wants to ask a question. I'm just trying to get the chat up.
Yeah. Hi, Sean, it's me.
Annie.
Always me, always have something to say.
That's all right.
I had, oh God, my best friend, right? I've been trying to convert her away from the chapsticks for about 2 decades now. But she did have a valid point, because she is, and I'm sure some of us will be in the same position. She is working in a hospital, so she's got to wear the mask all day. And she's got our Wild Rose Beauty Balm as well. She loves that. But what she said is where she will use petroleum based is because it gives you that barrier with the mask, wearing that all day so it doesn't dry out so much. And it sort of put me at a bit of a weird one where I can completely see where she's coming from. So I sort of suggested to maybe once she's done, then to give the hydration. But in some respects, it's really hard to convert someone who is in that addictive cycle of having to always use a chapstick or other petroleum-based one. But it was a good point that she made to say, well, nourishing is good, but if I'm wearing a mask and talk all day, that's not gonna, she needs that barrier.
What I would encourage, because she's in a mask all day, is that she puts that Wild Rose Beauty Balm all round her mask area and over her lips. She doesn't need a separate lip product.
Okay.
Because actually the nourishing oils in that will also add some protection. And Wild Rose Beauty Balm is amazing for people who are wearing masks all day.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, Annie, sometimes in the medical profession, because they're using petroleum as a barrier for all sorts of things all the time. But if actually your interest is in what are the natural and organic alternatives to the synthetic products that we've produced, this is the reason why with lip products. But I would say don't get hung up on trying to convert one individual. You know, you win some and you lose some.
Yeah.
But definitely Wild Rose Beauty Balm all over that area. Just tell her she needs the Wild Rose Beauty Balm beard before she puts her mask on.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I stopped trying to convince her, but it was just a good thought actually for those people who have a mask on all day. But I see that Sharon has mentioned the same, so that's a bit more reassuring.
Yeah. Okay. No worries.
Cool.
Okay, so then, so the second half of the workshop, I'm going to suggest you give them the chance to try some of the body products. So we're not just concentrating on face. This is a good chance to access some of the other areas of the product range and some that they might have come into contact with in purchasing Christmas presents, because obviously body butters and things like that go quite well with Christmas. So up to you which body polish you choose. What I've done for my particular workshop is I've given them a little bit of both because they're really different. The frankincense and mandarin body polish is in a creamy texture. It's a bit like the the rose facial polish, but definitely grittier than that, but that same kind of creamy consistency. It leaves your skin beautifully soft and supple. It just feels beautiful afterwards. But as you can see there, it's also got green clay in it, which will draw impurities to the surface and is really good for circulatory issues. You can read all the oils that are in there. I just love the fact that that is a body polish packed with nourishing olive, pumpkin and hemp seed oils. So it is exfoliating, but it's also putting nourishment back in right at the beginning. And you apply that to damp skin. So in the workshop, I would suggest that they wet one arm up to the elbow and enjoy it across the back of one hand and all the way up to their elbow on one arm. And when they finish doing that with that particular exfoliator, get them to compare arms before they use the other one on the other arm. If you're only going to sample one of the body scrubs, get them to use half on one arm and look at the difference, and then they can use the other half on the other arm afterwards. It's up to you, variation on a theme. My personal favourite is the geranium and orange body scrub. I treat myself to a pot of this every November because that's when my birthday is. It's less easy to wield in a shower, but to be honest, you don't need to, because this one you apply to dry skin, and it's like Wild Rose Beauty Balm in its texture, in that it's kind of thick and solid like Wild Rose Beauty Balm and then melts the moment it hits your skin. and it's a salt-based scrub. And the Brittany Sea Salt has actually rejuvenated a project on the Brittany coastline where that sea salt is harvested in through really old-fashioned ancient methods, obviously because in those days it was all natural. And some body scrubs that have got salt in them, the salt will be cleansed through a chemical wash. So of course we don't have that. So it's just a nice little background story about this one, but it smells absolutely divine. If you take geranium and orange hand cream or hand wash or anything like that and notch up the citrus fragrance by about 3, that best describes this body scrub. So whether or not you do winter skin workshops and whether or not you sample this, please treat yourself to a pot because it's amazing. Put into the chat if I've just sold you that product and you're going to buy it. Honestly, don't if you wouldn't, but I would love to know whether I've just sold that to a few of you. So you apply it to dry skin whilst your shower is running to get warm, and you rub it all in. And because it's an oil base, so the salt is moving around and exfoliating your body, but the oil is already soaking in. So use it when you're not then going to use loads of shower gel. You know, it's not a muddy shower kind of product. It's when you don't need to wash too much because you don't want to wash all those oils away. And when you get out of the shower, just pat yourself dry and your skin will feel amazing. And it actually gives your skin a little bit of a sheen in the same way as Wild Rose Beauty Balm does with that lovely oily highlight. So if you need to wear, I don't know, a pretty blouse to something, I mean, good grief, it's not like we're out doing New Year's parties and stuff, is it? But actually, if you just think my skin's looking really dull and lifeless, this is the product that will change it up. So let me just have a look and see how many of those I've just sold. Oh, okay. Cindy's going for the rose body polish, the Wild Rose body polish. She's still hooked on the new one. Terry's chocolate orange. I've never thought of that, Natalie. Maybe that's why I like it. It does smell a bit like that. Yeah. Good. Yes, I've sold a few. You're so easy, you lot, but you are consultants. It doesn't work like that with all your customers. Don't go away thinking you're going to have sold 18 of them on your first workshop. But the reason I asked that question is actually if there is a product that you love, put that into this workshop if it is relevant to winter skin. You don't have to stick with the products that I've chosen. You know full well that your replicated website and your catalogue has got more than enough information for you to be able to, with confidence, promote that product effectively. But the most important thing will be your story. So I painted a picture for you, and it was my enthusiasm about that product that sold it to you, not the list of ingredients. And that will be true with whatever you choose. So if actually there are winter favorites for you that I'm not listing, please don't worry about changing. Some of you have heard me say it before, there are no Neal's Yard Remedies police. Nobody is going to be checking the list of products that you dish out. Make it whatever you're going to sell enthusiastically. So having exfoliated both arms with either one of the body scrubs or a choice of 2, up to you what you want to do with your customers there. Let's have a bit of a feature on the body butters. These are unsung heroes, and often body butters get a bad press because they don't absorb very easily. And that's because they don't have the natural oils and beautiful ingredients that our body butters do. And the rose body cream absolutely is the scent of summer in a pot. The jar is glass, so it makes for really lovely displays when we can get back to making displays of things, but also lovely for keeping remedies to roll or cotton pads or whatever you like in that jar afterwards. And essential oil of more than 250 damask roses in every pot. This is a luxurious body cream. And the smell of summer in winter is just in itself quite rejuvenating. I think it's like the summer days will come, the light will return. And then the other one I chose, because it enhances the whole range, and honey is so good for locking in moisture to the skin, is the Be Lovely body butter, because out of that, hopefully, people will be encouraged to buy the hand wash, the shower gel, etc., etc. So up to you which body butters you go for, but the same principle applies with body butters as it does with body butters and lotions as it does with the facial moisturizers, where the lotions with the pump are not as richly nourishing as the products in a pot. So dialing up your body moisturizer for the winter, these are the products to go for. You only need the tiniest amount. So when people are applying this, for a start, it will absorb more easily because they've already exfoliated their arms. So actually the newer, fresher skin cells will absorb the body butter more easily. But what you might want to encourage them to do is to try a bit of the body butter on another part of their body that they haven't exfoliated, because that will really highlight the power of the body scrubs. When you're trying to absorb body butter onto dull and lifeless skin cells, it takes a lot longer to absorb. So further up their arm or a bit of a leg, find a space and just kind of drive home the message about the body scrubs and how much difference they make. When they're applying the body butters and body creams, I would suggest that you recommend that they dot the product across the area and then rub it all in. Because what people tend to do is they take a scoop of the product and they just do that on their arm. They just, kind of wipe it up. And then there's a lot of product all in one place. Whereas it's actually better to kind of spread it around a bit. Again, for my workshop on Saturday, I haven't added hand cream samples. It's up to you. It depends really on the customers that you've got coming. The reason I didn't is because I did lots of hand workshops for Christmas where I was featuring the Defense hand spray and the hand products that we had. But it's really up to you if you want to add a hand cream sample. The Melissa I chose because I just love the fragrance. Lemon balm has just got such a summery smell to it. And the citrus hand softener, if I was going to sample anything, I would sample that one for them, because the mallow in it is really softening for the skin, and it really helps with hardened, dry skin. I had a friend of mine who's now a customer, and he'd been doing a lot of work on his house, and his hands were so sore they were waking him up at night, and it was the citrus hand softener that repaired them. Just intensely nourishing, but very, very light texture, so it absorbs really easily and softens any skin that's become hard and kind of lost its suppleness and become a bit uncomfortable. But it's up to you. You can highlight whichever one of the hand creams that you want to, according to what you've got samples of. Okay, so how are you actually going to get some of these in your diary? Well, the first place to go surely is yourself, because you should be the one host who can't say no to yourself. I know some of you are pretty good at saying no to yourselves about these workshops, but it's time to just get on and do it. Inspire yourself with the product collection that you want to use, because actually giving people the chance to try some face products and body products is a really broad sweep of the range. And what I would suggest is that you invite people to come. If you are new to holding workshops, this is a new thing for your customers. They probably will want to see what one's like before they'll host for you. So be the host and then aim to get bookings out of that first one. So Michelle, that's your aim out of your first workshop on, you'd say tomorrow? When's your first one? Michelle? Thursday, right. So you've got a couple of days. Aim to get a couple of bookings out of that one. The reason I'm saying that, guys, is at the moment, Michelle's got one workshop in her diary. If she gets one booking out of that workshop on Thursday, she's just replaced the one she's just done. and it's uncomfortable to stay in this place where you've just got one. Whereas if you can get a couple of bookings out of that, you've doubled what was in your diary, and at that point it just feels like your confidence grows, and that there's just a bit of momentum in your workshop diary schedule. Definitely invite twice as many people as you want attendees. So if you're aiming for 8 people, you want to invite about 15 or 16, or invite about 10 or 12 and ask them if they'd like extra goodies for bringing a friend. So I have my winter skin workshop on Saturday. I've got 13 people coming, and 7 of them are guests of the guests. So, and they'll do it because they want extra goodies. I haven't worked out what the extra goodies will be yet. That will depend on where they live. It might be a host gift. It might be a bunch of samples in the post. It doesn't matter. Yes, please, gifts. I'll work it out. But there'll be extra things. And I don't know the potential of the people who are coming to that. There could be future hosts, ongoing customers, and maybe people who join the team as a result. And it's exciting to have friends, because you think, well, I just don't know. Let's just see what comes. But actually, when you're going to put 1 in your diary, why not put 2 in your diary and offer people 2 different dates? It's much harder to say no to a choice of 2. I'd love you to come, and I think you'd really enjoy trying the products. I'm going to do one a week on Saturday and one the last week of January. Is there one of those that would be better for you? And let's face it, inviting people at the moment, you could be social event of the year because there's nothing else going on. So Friday and Saturday nights seem to be being very popular because they're usually the kickback evenings and nobody's got anything to kick back into. So be social event of the year, and see if you can get 2 of them filling up instead of 1. And then some of you have done other workshop themes. So obviously the next bunch of people to go back to are your past hosts, because they haven't seen this part of the range. And you can sell it to them based on the idea that people get back together again and try some different products. Just check in on what they did enjoy in products last time and just highlight how those will be different. And then the other way to spike interest is obviously social media posts promoting the individual products that we've highlighted. Not everybody will want to come to a workshop, and not everybody will perhaps make this one, but they may well be interested in sampling the products and buying them from you. Maybe some one-to-one time. You could offer a kind of mini workshop for a customer and a friend. It doesn't have to be a big group. So just using your social media influence, for those of you who are social media savvy, doing that in line with your workshops and just changing your pitch slightly, instead of just promoting the product, mentioning your workshops in those social media posts, so that encourages more attendance. Okay, so let's stop the share. So just as a little recap, I just wanted to go through, you're going to get them chatting at the beginning because you're going to talk about what the issues are for skin, enjoy the facial products, take a slight break and talk about lips and hands, and then go into some body stuff. And then, just allow the conversation to go where it's going to go from there in terms of ordering and rebooking other themes. Does anybody have any questions on what I've covered, or any additional comments to make? And more to the point, have I inspired you to go and book some winter skin workshops? It's just a case of enjoying the products. So into the chat, what time would you suggest? Right, I'll answer that question in a minute. And in the meantime, just into the chat, commit to yourself. I'm not going to be keeping a record of this. Just decide how many of these you'd like to run. Put them into the chat. And if you speak it out there, thank you, Rach. So Becky, isn't it? Hang on, I've missed the message. Natalie, there it was, going to add a second date to give everyone another choice. Great. So for Natalie, that might be then her complete bookings for January. I don't know. But maybe actually I'm going to do that, offer a second date, and then I want another 2 in January. There's no right or wrong answer to this, but by you committing to it and putting it out there and putting it in the chat, you kind of start the first stage of making it real. 2, definitely. I love that. In answer to your question, is there a good time? I think it really depends on the audience. So obviously, if you've got young mums who are homeschooling, evening's better. But not too late, because they're all too tired and ready to fall asleep. And I can see from some of you that that's you. You've had a busy day. Some people are still working, and so actually evening would be better for them. The only way you're going to get to find out is to ask them. And actually, if you're doing over 2 dates, maybe a daytime and an evening one, if you know the where your customers work, you might want to consider doing that as well. Okay, let's just have a look. We've got 1 in Jan and 3 in Feb. Love that. 2 probably, but have a few other themes planned as well. Brilliant. And I just wanted to say one other thing. If you are a new joiner and what you've got is your starter kit, then it's great that you've joined tonight, and I hope it's given you great product knowledge. But to be honest, your first workshops should be with the products in your starter kit, because those are the ones that you've got the testers for. You could be savvy and switch out some of the testers for some of the samples that are in business tools. I'll give you a good example. Why would you decant white tea eye gel out of your little glass vial when you can buy sachets of them at a very, very reasonable price? So speak to the person who recruited you about which products you'd use for that, and have a look on our team YouTube channel at the starter kit workshop video that we the training that we did sometime back in September, October time, I think it was. I think that will really help. But actually the starting point is our starter kit. For those of you who might have done some Christmas workshops and you now want to do winter skin, that's great, go for it. But I would say at some point return to the facial collections, and I know you've all got access to training on those as well that Lynn's running at the moment, and you've picked up information about that. So I'm trying to kind of do different themes so that you've got both over time. Any other questions before we finish? Let's just look in the chat there. Whole Zoom thing, Helen. Yeah, okay. So Monday evening will be where we do the kind of practical outworkings of it. So just to give you a bit of an idea, what we'll cover there is Zoom. Do I need a paid account? How long does it run for? How many people can I have on it? How do you set up an online party link? What do you send people in advance in instructions? How do you collect the orders in? You know, the literally step-by-step process of it all. All right. Okay, so we'll finish off there. And as I said, what we'll do is I'll put the slides into my team Facebook group, and I will send them off to Lucy now. So at some point in the next couple of days, they will get loaded into belovelies.com. So you'll be able to access them there as well. All right. Good. Have a nice rest of the evening, everybody, and sleep well. Take care. Bye.